Hello and welcome to our Saturday stream. I'm Josh, and this is Fantasy Grounds RPG map and image creation. We have a whole bunch of new features that have come out. Well, not a whole bunch, but a few, and some good fixes for our image workspace, which is great. We finally got the art packs out this last week, which is great for the month of September. And we are well on our way to getting the things ready for this month's release, which is great. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Glad you can make it. I'm going to be doing a bit of a shorter stream today. And so we'll try to get through all of this content. We're going to be making a nice map today and going over some of the new things in the latest release that came out in Fantasy Grounds. So without too much further ado, let's get started. We have some fixes. So the small bug where if you moved a painted layer around, a stamped image painted layer, and you would get a... yeah, no camera this week. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so we'll have it back up next week. And so that's been fixed, as well as some optimizations, which is always a good thing. And we have some new additions to our shortcut keys. So let's just jump right into our images area here. Oh, and by the way, thank you guys last week for letting me know about some of those maps that were having some issues that we put up onto the Forge. I should have that all taken care of. I got that all fixed up for you guys last Monday. Let's see here. Let's just grab an arbitrary kind of element here. Let's see. What is this? Yeah, so here we have an image. And our workspace is really less important. To demonstrate some of these new features here, let's get into our painting area over here. And I'm just going to pick out my assets, and we'll move this over to the side. So now what we have is a couple of new shortcuts that we can use in the little paint area over here. So I'm just going to grab, let's go into our 2019 art package, and I'll just grab one of these images here. So let's do something like this, and you can see if I hold down Control, you can see that we have still our usage of zooming the image or scaling the image with Control and mouse wheel, and and Shift will rotate it. But now we have a whole bunch of new ones. We can hold down A, and with the mouse wheel, we can change the opacity of it. And we can hold down R, and we can do the red, the green as well, and the blue. And here is the cool thing, is if we hold down R, G, and B all at the same time, we can use any one of these that we want to. So R and G, for example, will be the red and green. I bring it all the way down to blue. So now we can interact with this without having to get into our color picker if we don't wish to. So there's a lot of cool things that we have now that we can actually interact with here. Very, very exciting stuff. I'm super excited about this, and this should certainly help us with our productivity and our workflow and speed things up quite a bit. And we're going to be using these today. I might accidentally go back to my old ways because, you know, these habits certainly do die hard. And, you know, once you get using something for quite some time, it can, you develop habits. So, but I'm going to try and remember all of these different things, as you guys should as well. Yep, so all you have to do is hold A, for example, and once you have your workspace selected here, and if I zoom in here a little bit, you'll be able to see this a little bit better. Let's grab something that has some a little bit more color, or less color, actually. Well, white is actually all of the colors combined in light, so that's more color is more appropriate. So that this will be demonstrated a little bit better. And so holding down A and using the mouse wheel, I can scroll down to decrease the opacity, and I can scroll it back up. And the same with all of the colors, R, G, and B. They're all to the appropriate keybinds. And so this will help us very, very quickly be able to just turn something to black if I wanted to change this to a shadow, and then drop down its opacity, and then begin to click it all around to make sure we're in our stamp tool, as you can see here. And then I can, without having to change anything, increase the opacity all the way back up. And then I can also increase all of those color values. Which is great. Yeah, this is a huge, great addition here. So big thanks to Carl for adding that in. It's very, very good. Oh, the other thing, let's go back into this image that we got going on here. And we can go back into our assets here. Let's go into any brush here that we have. And what we can also do now is in our painting tools, I'll grab something like this, and we can switch over to our circle or ellipse tool. And with our ellipse tool selected, we can now hold down Control, and it will, well, not Control, Alt, sorry, Control Z, Alt, and it will build out from the center. So the way that it was working before, we would drag it out to the sides, and sometimes that would make it a little bit more difficult to line up. But now, for example, we can hold down our button and, not that one, Alt, and it will pull out right from the center what we do. And if we hold down Shift and Alt at the same time, we can also maintain a complete circular aspect lock. So another great feature. Awesome. So as you guys know, Dave has started working on a nice little project that we're going to be doing and putting that up on the Forge. So we're going to be creating a regional map for that today, which should be pretty fun. And so what I want you guys to do is help in, if you are able to, help in its creation. You can give me some ideas and help narrate the direction of the map. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the style of the map that we want to create. So we have two different art packages that are designed for creating such things. We have the old world style, which let's just jump into, I think, in our images here. I go into here. Yep, there they are. So we have zoom in here a little bit. We have a nice kind of Tolkien-esque interactive space here that we can use with this particular art package. So would you guys prefer something along this lines, or we also have this one as well? Something more along these lines. What do you guys think? Regional map style 1 or 2? Sure, yeah. What do you think we should do this style here? Looks like we're going to be going with the second style, this one. All right, let's do that. So we're going to be using that particular art package. So let's go into our assets here, and this is the regional map pack. We have some background images here that we're going to start off with. And we'll just pull out any number of these that we can kind of work with and get going here. So let's just double click on this, and I'm going to create an image record from that. And I'm going to turn off our lighting. We don't need to worry about any of these things. We're going to set our grid, which has been set automatically from the XML file that's attached to this particular image. And let's zoom in here. I'm going to just turn on my grid and lower down its opacity. Because I like to use the grid, it helps me line things up. I just don't like it to be too intrusive. Awesome. And we move into our layers mode over here. And with that selected, I'm just going to line this up with the grid itself. And I'm going to duplicate this a couple of times. And then I'm going to drag these out and just kind of match them up to the sides here. Let's see here. Let's delete these. Doesn't seem to be appropriate. Let's make it 20 by 20 so it's exact. And now I will duplicate that a couple times here. 3 to be exact. And I'm going to flip it so that we make it a perfect seamless kind of texture there. Great. So we have our background image that we're going to be starting off here, and which is pretty good size. We have a nice little bit of workspace that we can actually use to interact with here. Oh yeah, you see, it's like one of those psychology tests, like the ink splotch tests. What do you guys see? Let's find out your personalities. All right, let's create a folder, and I'm going to put all of these in one folder. And I'm just going to call this background. And close that right up. And we'll just scoot this over so we can have access to all of our nice assets from this pack. And now let's click on this button. That's going to bring us back up to the root menu. And here we have all of the different other things that we're going to be getting into. So we're going to be using some tiles here. And this is all of our different coastline tiles here, which we're going to build up all of that area. And we have a whole bunch of different cool brushes so we can divide things in borders and set up trade routes and do all kinds of stuff. So we can have some fun in this. We can mix and match this with the GM symbols so that we can add in all of our different little symbol areas. So should we do a traditional kind of area here with a winter in the north? We'll do like snowy areas up top and then build down and do what kind of biomes do you think that we should do? And I'm just going to start building out my coastline here. I'm just going to do a small amount of coast on the edge here and keep this pretty area. And then I think that what we'll do is kind of put the starting town in this area. We'll build some a lake region and some rivers and whatnot. But I do want to show a little bit of the coastline and make this in a particular way where we can build off of this. So I'm going to keep this pretty well open on the edges so that we can continue this. So these are all just kind of drag and drop, and I'm just going to drag this and drop this around here. I'm going to rotate it. And the way that this works is you can see this gets layered right on top. And this is going to create all the little islands and whatnot from all of the different coastal kind of interactions. Ooh, a Nordic coastline. And we want to make it pretty interesting, right? So we're gonna build some little areas that kind of go up and down, flip around. This one's not gonna quite work at the moment. So I wanted to kind of build this way. So I need to do something that is this. And we want to do it the other direction. So I just want to do something small like this one. And now we can do something like this that is going to kind of swoop in and do it that. Yeah, that's correct. So the newer art packs are more for the battle map areas. Yep. This is specifically designed for like regional kind of creation. So like large overland maps rather than like smaller maps that you're actually going to interact with your characters. And we're not going to worry about this sticking out here because we're going to actually create a nice border around our map. So we can be a little bit freer with like lining these things up on the edges. And we can just kind of grab these and start to build this out. You can see these just kind of snap together. And we're going to be creating this little coastal region along here. What I wanted to do is kind of build it out this way and then kind of end somewhere in this area. And then we'll tie in all of our rivers and whatnot to that. And we'll be creating some lakes, as I said, and we'll do a whole like lake region up there. And maybe we'll drag something like this out. And do some a little bit too far there. And now we can start to change its direction here. I think we'll do some that are straight across at this point. Before we dip it down. So this will be like a little outcropping, or this will be like a little bay rather. And then this will kind of scoop back in. Maybe like that. So how's everybody doing? I hope everyone's doing well. And let's grab something like, we want to bring it back down this way. We need something, I think that might work. Then we'll drag it this direction. There is, in fact, this month in October, I've done, there's going to be 2 art packages coming out this October and a new theme. So I have a new cemeteries art pack, which is kind of agnostic in its time frame. And there is an abandoned places, which is the first dive into modern day. So it'll be great for doing like post-apocalyptic kind of campaigns, which I'm super excited about. And it will be the first of several into modern, and I have some stuff for Victorian. error creations, and so on. So very, very exciting. And we'll grab this guy, up him out here. Oh yes, yes. We'll have a lot more sci-fi stuff coming out in the future as well. Ooh, Gamma World, neat. And then we'll do. I think what we'll do is we can just bring it this way and then down. So I'll grab this guy. And last one we'll be using here, and then do a little flip down like that. So here's our coastline on the edge here. We'll fill in all of our empty spaces, and like I said, we're not going to worry about this poking out the side. We're going to create a nice border around the edge, and that's all going to be hidden. Ooh, suede. I love Savage Worlds. I think that is currently one of, if not my favorite rule set. Hold on one moment while I just do a little adjustment here. Okay, back at it here. I can see I was accidentally using my chat here. Fix that. Alrighty. Oh yeah, the last parsec. I think there's some really great campaigns. I would really like to play or run one of the Flash Gordon ones. I think that's cool. And now we can go back into our assets over here. Let's just move that over to the side. We situate this a little bit. We have these empty spaces, so we can either grab out this, but I'm just going to paint it in. I find that to be a lot easier, and we'll be putting this all into a folder all on its own, all of the water elements. So let's create a new painting layer, and I'm just going to grab this guy and drop him there. And we can change the size of this very easily. And we can also hold down our control button so that it will snap to the grid. Let's actually just make it 3x3 so it lines up with the other one. Even though we're going to be covering that up, I want to make sure that we have a little bit of consistency, right? And I'm just going to stamp this around and two by two. Perfect. Oh yeah, the after was really super fun. I enjoyed it. Great. So now we have this nice kind of layout here that we have all set up, and we got a bunch of different elements that we could use if we wanted to. And we also have a whole bunch of different brushes that we can use and all kinds of cool stuff. So we'll be having lots of fun here. We're going to get into our decorations now, and this is where the meat of this particular art pack really lies. You can see we have lots of different decorative elements as well as all of the regions. So we'll be creating, we'll do our textures first. Let's create a folder first, and we're just going to call this one water. And I'm going to put all of these right inside of there. I'm going to be using this this painting layer to paint out a lot of the rivers and whatnot, and I'll show you guys how I'm actually going to be doing. But let's jump in. We have a nice base texture, which has a whole bunch of different elements on it. So it's in two different kind of iterations here, but I can show you how it is. It's just got a whole bunch of just different textures that we're going to be wanting to do, and all of our textures that we're going to use this underneath our water layer. I'm going to create a new painting layer, and I'm going to be, as you can see, we can go right up to the water's edge here, but I'm not going to be using this one. This is kind of just one to get people started if they wanted to. We have all kinds of different ones for different areas that we want to kind of include here, and then mountains and so on and so forth. But the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to be using some of these regions that have a little bit of color information to kind of break up the monotony of what I have going on. So let me just grab this, and you can see here we have a little bit of texture that's going on there. I'm going to drop down my opacity. Oh, I'm going to drop down my opacity by holding A and make sure I have my painting layer selected, and I can just lower that down with my mouse wheel. I'm going to increase that size. And I'm going to do some like fertile kind of areas in through here. And the way that we usually, or I usually work in this, is I build up layers. So I start off with like my base layer, and then I kind of build up more and more complex visual information on top of that, and create a more and more kind of refined look that we're kind of going for. And the advantages of having this kind of water system around the outside is that now underneath the water, I can start to just paint these in, right? And I can bring this out all the way into these little islands, and we're going to be adding in water textures and all kinds of stuff. So we can do lots of cool stuff with that. Now that's a little bit too dark for what I want to do right now. I'm just going to hit Control Z, back that off a little bit. And then I'm going to hold down A and just drop down my opacity a bit more. And increase the size here a little, and we can start to paint this out. What I want, you see these little like areas in between we create, that's what we want. We want these kind of, this feeling that we're creating this variation in the environment, in the texture of the land. I rotate the brush by holding down Control to use, no, I hold down Shift to rotate, Control for the size. So all of it's done with the mouse wheel. So hold down Shift and use the mouse wheel, and I can rotate the image. Hold down Control and I can adjust its size. Hold down A and I can adjust its opacity. Yeah, lots of cool little features so that we can just kind of add in. And you can see we're just building up these layers, making some interesting kind of backgrounds. And we're going to be building on top of this, so it certainly doesn't have to be very precise at all. Oh, something just like this. Something that's just going to give us that feeling that there is some underlying vegetation that we're going to be working on. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into my water area now that we have this broken up a little bit, and I'm going to start to paint in some of these lakes. The reason why we put these all in the same folder is if we decide to do any changes to the water as far as like color goes and whatnot, we can do it all at once by just selecting the folder in our layers tab and adjusting all of those. And we'll be doing that actually today. So we have some nice lakes, and then I believe that there is, some rivers as well that we can just kind of paint in there. So here we can kind of, most of these, I think that there's a couple of let's do like some of these like groupings for these like lake regions. And I'm just gonna, I want to do this all on one layer. So I'm going to delete that, make sure that my layer is selected. Now, there is a minor bug that happens once in a while. If you try to paint on a painting layer and it doesn't seem to work correctly, just rotate the image and it'll snap right back in. And we'll just be painting in a couple of little areas in through here. That, maybe something like this. Question. Yes. You cannot. It's only in the painting workspace with the tool selected. So it does not work for layers. So for example, right, like the some of the hot key combinations, when you go into different areas, will perform differently. So it's specific to just the painting area. And maybe we'll add in a couple more of these. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my aspect lock ratio, and I'm going to change this, right? So the way, by changing this a bit and rotating it, we're going to make this seem as though it is not the same image. So we're going to maybe do something like this. Change the size here a little bit. Nice. And we can kind of just sporadically place some of this stuff around. And begin to build this up a little bit. Are there lots of lakes and things where you guys live? I live in Maine, and we have, there's a lot of lakes and ponds all over the place. Yeah, I think that's pretty good for right now. We can always add some more in later. The only reason why I wanted to kind of concentrate on this area, I'm thinking that this is where we're going to be placing the town, is maybe in here. And we want to have some good kind of like water areas in and about. And I'm going to be doing a major kind of waterway coming up through. Oh, yes. Got some lakes there. Oh, yeah. It makes Maine look dry. Yeah. Ontario. So we also have, in this particular art package, we have some rivers, right? And these are kind of set up so that you can line these right up with these areas like this. So we can create these nice little offshoots. Of lakes and streams. All you have to do is just kind of line up that edge with a flatter kind of element. snap that right into place. And I'm going to show you guys how you can actually draw out your own as well. And again, we can change this. Yeah, that's awesome. I think I much prefer lakes to the ocean at times. Something about fresh water. Great. So we got a little bit of information that's going on up here. I think we're going to pick this particular area in through here, and then I'm going to do, actually going to create my own lake up through here, a much larger one. This will be kind of like smaller kind of elements, smaller little region here of lakes and rivers. And we'll do like a one large kind of creation here, and then I'm going to do a large kind of river that comes up through. We'll see where we're going to actually connect it. Yeah, nice big lake for sure. Great. And I think what we'll do is close this up for now, go back into our texture area here. We're going to do this on a couple of different layers so that we can maintain some elements here. So I'm going to just rename this to be texture. And I'm going to create another one. And this is going to be, what do we call this? We'll just call this land elements. And this will be all of our like mountains and other things. So we can kind of go back and forth and kind of create those through there. And so what I'm going to actually do is grab some of these other textures down in the texture area down here. And I'm going to start to build up some of the texture kind of content around. And you can see that this is all and I'm even going to hold down A and lower down my opacity a little bit and start to kind of fade this out on the edges. Maybe we'll make that kind of like a little fertile valley in through there. And we can grab some other elements. Either that's more of like more rigid kind of mountainous terrain. Let's hold down A, lower down that opacity a little bit, and we'll be doing this along this edge. And again, this is just that kind of like base texture that we're going to be building on top of. It's going to give us a little bit of the information that we want. Up over here, I'm going to make it bigger. And we can opacity kind of begin to blend it in with the other areas here. Great. And now we have some nice mountain kind of ranges here. Actual like mountain images. And just to make things a little bit easier for us, I'm just going to type in a little bit of a search here, and it's going to bring up all of the images that are kind of related to that, so that we can have a little bit of an easier time navigating through all the other decorations. So I'm going to grab one of these images. Let's start off with this one. And this is what I'm going to actually kind of build up a nice mountain range up from here. And I'm going to do this on my land area here. And again, I'm going to hold down A and I'm going to drop down. Well, actually, no, let's do the main kind of area first. So what I'll do is maybe create a bridge of mountains that kind of comes up this way. I'm going to change this, and if you guys have ever seen what mountain ranges kind of look like from top-down view from the sky, it's kind of like this spider web of all of the ridges that kind of come out from the main peaks. And that's what these particular images are kind of designed to do. So I'm going to create my own little elements here, like, and we can do that by lowering down our opacity and size. And I can begin to add in all of these ridges kind of come off of. And we'll add in some shadow information and do a whole bunch of stuff. Well, I'm going to actually change the width of this to be a bit wider. The width of it. Yeah, we'll make it narrow. I think we'll get rid of flip it. Some of the other kind of shapes going here. And we can switch up our images here. We have some nice other ones. That we can kind of build in as well. And this is going to help give us some variety. Oh, are they? Oh, yeah. Look at all that. It's like, have you ever seen or played like a video game and somebody's like, I can't move, and you can just see all the W's in the chat. That's what I'm doing right now. I think we all have been at one time or another, haven't we? And then I'm going to build this, have this kind of come down. And we're going to use these. And you can see how you can kind of use this and build up these little areas down here, and how it's really starting to feel as though it is becoming. Don't forget we can flip these. And let's narrow that down a little bit further than that. Yeah, some nice mountains that we got going. Now I'm going to switch the image over here. Grab this one. And we'll create this to be like a nice big peak. And I'm going to drop down its opacity. Kind of blend out the edges here. Nice. And let's build, I'm going to do another kind of mountainous region up through here. So we'll have this like one trail of mountains that kind of comes up, and we'll have the river maybe come up along this way and then up. And then I'm going to be putting the town like right in here. I'll have this nice little region that kind of comes up here. And then we can do some other mountains that kind of go down this way. So again, I'll take this initial kind of ridge here, and I'll drop down its opacity a bit. I just love having this opacity change. So easily accessible. Great. You can tell I get a little bit of concentration going when I stop talking. Apologize. Well, I bet we can open up the color picker and actually see. Let me hold down A, and then this is selected, and you can see it actually move. Nope, you can't see it move. So I'm assuming it moves. Each click probably moves. I don't know. You know what? I'll ask Carl and get you a definitive answer on that, rather than estimate. That probably sounds like a much better plan. We make this like spider. See how cool that is? That like these nice little spider webs of images. I think I'm actually gonna change some of these. These are a little bit too. But yeah, that's Starting to look like a very natural kind of mountainous terrain over here. Very cool. All right. Now with that, our major kind of mountain area is over, and we're going to leave some of this blank so we can build on this and incorporate things. Oh yeah, we could try that. So here, I'll make it nice and large for us to see, and I'll hold down the alpha and I'll put it all the way up. And then I will hold down A and I'll just move down one. Make sure we have this selected. One click. So it went from 255 down to 242. Good idea. Look at all the A's I have in chat. That was one click. Yep, it's 12. It's exactly 12. Smart thinking, Dark Mantle. Great. So now let's go up. We can start to build in some of our other elements in here. I'm going to start to, we have our land elements, which is going to be all of these kinds of things and what, right? But we want to do so much more with that, right? So I want to start doing our, let's do like a lone mountain. A nice little interesting place, maybe over here. Something like that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, these regions are starting to look good. So now let's add in a new painting layer. And this will be trees. We have trees here and forest there. So we can grab some of these larger kind of elements. And if we go up into, yeah, that's all of our, great. And I'm actually going to do the same kind of thing here. I'm going to put down a base layer. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, but I'm going to lower down its opacity. And we can start to paint in some tree areas. I'm going to be careful not to overlap. And our opacity is set to 166, so I'm going to maintain that. And we can do some down maybe here. These will be like the big forests. And these are going to look a little bit too duplicated here, but I'm going to bring in some other elements, change that. So we can grab some of the other ones, these smaller little groupings, as you can see here. And again, we'll change it to 166. And I'll start to place the in and around the. We should do some on the side too. And we should add in some additional lakes in and around here. Let's scoot on over here. We'll grab some of the other groupings. Again, we'll drop down that opacity. We're just going to be building, and then I'm going to do another layer of trees on top, I think. You can see how these different shapes you can really, and we can grab some of these smaller groupings as well and fill in some of these little areas in the middle if we want to. The trick is we just don't want to overlap it right yet. We just want to create our initial base layer. Because we want to have that kind of consistency. Yeah. And I'm going to grab, grab this larger one. And this one actually has no outline on it. So this is one that I use oftentimes to create like a base kind of texture even further underneath. And I think I'm going to change the color of it. Drop the green down a little bit. Darker. Yeah, very cool. And I'm going to go back into my texture. Let's grab some of these snow elements. And we can start to build this out a little bit as well. Grab something. Well, we don't want to be in here and do it. We want to be in our painting layer. You can see that this has like some nice snow texture on it. But again, I'm going to drop down that opacity quite a lot. I'm going to build out some kind of like snowy area. And this is going to go layer right on top. We can actually do this in another one. Let's call this snow. Might want to do this on top of everything, but we'll see. And I'm going to drop down my opacity very, very low. And see how this is going to start to make it feel like that snow kind of creeps down from the north. I'm going to make this smaller. Make that a bit larger. Kind of fill up this area a little. And I'm going to go down and make it small, and I'm going to do some on the tops of the ridges, like snow-covered peaks. And I'm just moving around and clicking. Yeah, that's good. Maybe we'll make this a large, like, forested kind of area all down through. Add in a whole bunch of more trees and whatnot. And I'm just going to shrink this down, and I'm going to come in and do a little bit more. What I'll do is switch over to this one. I'm going to make it a bit narrower. Not quite that. Kind of follow along some of these edges a bit. Awesome. Starting to look cool now. Really starting to give it some character. Bring it to life here a little bit. Don't right click. We can zoom out, and now you can see all of these textures really starting to add in the environment, starting to bring it to the forefront. I think we'll fade this in a little bit. Excellent. All right, now let's switch back over. Well, actually, let's grab this guy while we're right here. I'm going to go into this painting layer, and because we've already set up the color change, I don't have to worry about that. It's just going to be automatically applied because it's on the layer itself. Build this up into a nice little area. Hold down A and use your mouse wheel. So the question is, how do you change the opacity of the stamp on the fly? You can just hold down A. You can also do the colors R, G, and B and use the mouse wheel and adjust colors on the fly now as well. I'm going to type in forest so we can just have all of these nice trees. This, and again, we're going to set this down to 160, 66, go back to our trees layer. Yeah, isn't that a great addition? I agree, Alyssa. And we'll just drop in some of these guys. Great. So now what we'll do is I'm going to build up a little bit more layers on top of these trees. Give them a little bit more of life here. So I'll grab maybe something like this. And again, what I'll do is set my opacity. We'll do it a little bit more opaque. So maybe we'll do like 175. Go with a bit bigger one here. Very cool. Okay, so the question is, what is the recommended map size for a project like this? My players have noticed some assets occasionally don't load for them. So there's a couple of things that I have noticed for the loading problem. If your players set this to the background, as you can see, it makes some of them disappear. I doubt it's the size of the image that you're doing. So if they set it to the background, some of these are not going to display correctly. So to fix that, they have to go to the full size and then back down, and then all of them will display correctly. If they get the little X's or question marks, it's because they haven't loaded those images yet. But if they're just not shown, I bet maybe some of your players are putting the image in the background, and so just have them go all the way to full background and back down if they do that. But I doubt it's the size of it, unless you're creating some really large single images, and then they wouldn't have any image whatsoever, though. But yeah, do a little bit of experimenting and see if you can uncover. But I almost guarantee it's probably this issue. Awesome. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to add, go all the way back up into our effects. We're going to add in some of these effects, and then I'll do the border, and then I'll have to call it for today, guys, unfortunately. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, hopefully it works for you. If you don't, if it doesn't work out, please let us know. And if there's an actual problem, we definitely want to know so that we can fix it. So I have some nice big kind of textures here. I'm just going to drag and drop this out. See here, and we actually have a 40 by 40 area out here. So I'm just going to change this. See, that's going to fit right over the top of it. And you can see that this is a little bit washed out here. So I'm going to go in here and we are going to drop down all the blue out of it, the green. And you can see you can make this any sort of texture color you wish, right? Like pretty much. We could do it the other way too. We could make it more green or completely blue and so on. So I'm just going to bring it down. I want it to be pretty dark. I have this like kind of textured overlay. Might even want to bring it down. And then I'm going to use the opacity to you can see what this does is it just adds a little bit of that grungy kind of texture over the top of everything. And it's going to give us some texture out here on our water. And then I have another one that I like to use as well. And I'm going to actually put this down just in my water area. And we can move this out. I'm going to actually just side here and squash it down. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into color picker here. Oh, well, you know, Dark Mantle, I can't do it. It doesn't work in this particular area. So I can't, only in the painting. So we still have to use our color picker for the layer tab. But thank you for reminding me. I think we're going to keep it. Let's drop it all the way down to black and fade it off here a little bit. Awesome. Now we have a little bit of stuff that's going on out in our water. And you know what? I think I'm going to duplicate this. This way. You can see we can add in a little bit more of that stuff, kind of the frozen north. And then the last thing, well, we'll do two things. We'll add our vignette, which again will make this 40 by 40. It's going to really start to add very cool kind of features here. We're going to do our rivers and whatnot, but we'll do that next week and add in the rest of our environmental kind of stuff and all of our not our tokens, but our symbols and whatnot. And then I'm going to go back into, and I should probably create a folder for all of these. And then we'll call this top level textures. And we'll create a painting layer and we'll go into our brushes. And we'll grab a nice frame brush. And I'm going to go to my rectangle. And I want to make sure that it is wide enough to cover up all of this stuff on the side. So something like this. And what I'll do is I'm just going to grab right up here at the corner, drag this out. Say we have a little bit that sticks out on the outside there, but I'm okay with that. And then we can maybe adjust the color of this. Do something nice. Let's do, maybe we'll drop it down to something like that. Yeah, this is really starting to look like a nice regional map. And you know what? We'll even add in one other thing here. Let's go type in shadow brush. We got a bunch of them. I'm going to do a little shadow underneath our frame. And I'll show you a little trick here. See, I am going to just kind of drop it here. And now what I can do is I can change its size and do this appropriately to exactly where I want. And I can hold down Control and I can just use my arrow keys to kind of fine tune it. And I can even change this. Just to give us that little bit of extra from the edges there. Nice. do you guys think? That's a pretty good start to our regional map. And before I leave here, well, let's do one. Let's just do one last thing. Just got to do one last thing. We can go into our effects and let's add an effects layer. We got to do some rolling clouds over the top, right? We can drop this down in underneath. Let's do it underneath all of this stuff. And we'll add a mask. Slow down those clouds. Oh, not that. To do. Speed. Now we can kind of drop. Going to be appropriate. Or we could just do the shadows, so you have like the shadows of the clouds going down. That might obscure it a little. We'll have to do like I'll do some later, but we'll do the mask so it only affects. Oh, well, you know what? Let's just do it right now. Let's do it right now. I wonder if I can Control Z that. Yeah. So we can go into our mask, blur out the edges here, and what we can actually do. Let's increase all of this up. Get lots of this information in here. And then we can go into our, let's do hide area. I'm going to hold down Alt. Actually, let's hide all of it and go into reveal area. And then some of these areas where things are less important, you can add in some clouds. Right, and with the blur out those edges, and then we can find what's going to be working the best for. Because now we can come back in, actually create the shapes that we want. And now we have this nice little glow. We can a little, and it'll never interfere with any of these things. Drop down. And this is a great way too to hide areas, right? Like if you want this up here to be something that's kind of hidden, you can actually come in and remove the clouds and whatnot as your guys progress. Able to. Yeah, very cool. I like it. Yeah, the cloud of war. Absolutely correct. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. We got a pretty good start to our map here. We'll be finishing it up this next week. I'll be doing my full stream this next week, so I apologize for having to cut it short today. But again, thank you guys so much for hanging out, and we will see you all next time. Thanks, everybody.